Welcome back guys to another video, another bracket video. Today we'll be discussing the best thriller anime out of the following: Steins Gate, Another, Death Parade, Re:Zero, Death Note, Akagi, Monster, and The Promised Neverland. Let's go. First up in round 1, we have Steins Gate vs Another. So with Another, it's one of the only watchable horror anime there is, because for some reason there's not very many horror animes at all. But the overall story is that every year at this school, in this certain class, the students need to ignore one student, no matter what, or one by one each of the students will die. And what happens, there's a foreign exchange student, or a student from a different state, comes and it belongs in the class, and he's not aware of this tradition, this overruling presence that this has to happen, and he talks to the person. And when you're watching at first, you get a sense that this character isn't real, that she's like a ghost or something. But as the story progresses, you realize, oh, okay, she's actually there, and every other character has just been ignoring her because they don't want to die. It's just pretty thriller in that way. And there's a lot of deaths, because as the one character did notice her, started talking to her, all the other characters eventually have to die, and most characters do die throughout. But watching it, it has a dull scene where it's pretty creepy but it wasn't the best. The deaths were alright, I guess, are pretty interesting. The way characters got to be killed, random events like that. They were unpredictable at times, which I quite enjoyed. And it's up against Steins Gate. Steins Gate, top tier sci-fi anime that is condemned or welcomed as one of the greatest anime of all time. And it has the thriller tag. It's very enjoyable to watch. Not gonna lie, it does start off a bit boring. I don't want to really spoil anything major, because if you haven't seen Steins Gate, it's an amazing watch and I highly recommend checking it out. It starts off a bit slow, somewhat boring, but it really picks up around the halfway point, even a little bit earlier than that, and the ending, the last 3 episodes are great, everything after that's great, top tier. The thriller aspect isn't really top tier greatness. It is there, it is very clear that it's trying to be thriller at times, and especially with some major twists and the different timelines and all of that. I highly recommend watching it, and versing Another, I think Steins Gate would have to advance to the next round, purely on how superior the story is, and the little thriller aspect it does have. When it does have it, it does it well, and I think that pushes it over the line. The next two, we have Death Parade vs Re:Zero. So with Death Parade, I watched Death Parade right after I finished Death Note, because I went online, looked up best thriller / psychological anime, and I wanted to see another part of Death Note, but I ended up getting recommended Death Parade. I checked it out, it was 12 episodes. I enjoyed it. It was very different and strange. It was a bit over the top at times. The thriller wasn't really all there, to be fair. It was interesting, the idea they showed purgatory or limbo, whatever you want to consider it. The way they presented that and what happens after you die was kind of interesting. The thriller aspect, like I said, wasn't fully there, wasn't fully fleshed in throughout the story throughout. It was there at times, there was some creepy moments that really shine throughout. It looked good, I liked the look of it. Spooky, very spooky look. The characters had very menacing eyes, and the characters were very calm and relaxed while everyone else was freaking out. I enjoyed that about it pretty much. Now with Re:Zero, it is an isekai anime, but it is probably one of the better ones. It is the better ones, with the best being, No Game No Life, please, season 2, come on. Re:Zero is getting another season in this year, I believe, at the end of this year, soon, getting season 2. Re:Zero is a recent watch for me. I quite enjoyed it. The psychological elements are extreme in it. With the thriller at times, yes, it is pretty strong in it. And it's just the main character Subaru dying. It's like a save point going back, but then having to deal with everyone not remembering everything. It's very extreme and thrilling at times, which is the idea behind this bracket. So with that, I'm going to give it to ReZero, moving on to the next round. The next two, Death Note and Akagi. Death Note is, everyone knows Death Note. Death Note's greatest. It was featured in the psychological bracket. It did well. I won't spoil it if you haven't checked it out. Make sure to check that video out after this. Death Note did pretty well in the psychological anime bracket. Everyone knows about Death Note. Death Note, top tier greatness. Very thrilling at times. Not fully throughout, but it has its moments which are good. Up against Akagi. Akagi is pretty much a game-based anime with the game, I believe, Shogi, Japanese game, similar to chess somewhat. And it's pretty much him. He's a prodigy that's like a street kid. The tense moments when they're playing the game, everyone's trying to analyze what he's doing, what he's thinking. No one gets it. They're pretty thrilling, pretty engaging. But it's up against Death Note. I think Death Note destroys it overall in story, characters. All the characters in Akagi are pretty weak, apart from the main, and he's not even that good. And the ending for the Akagi anime was a gigantic disappointment, with it cutting short from like a final big battle and saying, oh, there was a 10-year time skip, and so who played for so long and he won. And then it showed the main character walking across a bridge. They skipped the final arc because they didn't want to wait for the manga to finish adapting, and that was just very triggering to watch. It was very interesting, learnt a lot about the game Shogi that they play, and I can't say it's top tier, it's thrilling at times, but I think Death Note has a clear advantage, meaning it's going to move on. The last two anime in round one include The Promised Neverland vs Monster. So before I started, when I was coming together with this bracket, trying to work out my favourite thriller anime, I had placed these two together and I thought, I put them together, I'm like, okay, Promised Neverland will probably win. I started rewatching some Monster clips and I realised how top tier in the thrilling aspect it was. Monster, the antagonist, Johan, is like unbelievable. I think he destroys every antagonist on this list. Apart from L, if you consider him the antagonist for Death Note, him and Johan Lieber is like miles amongst everyone else on this bracket when it comes to the antagonist. The main characters are pretty good. Dr. Tenhan or something like that. He's alright. He doesn't really have all the thrilling moments. Everyone, he has some moments with him, with some police chasing him. They're okay with some other characters. It's a well written story. Monster is you can't question anything about the story. It's somewhat perfect. Some people consider it perfect. Very well written, very good to follow, very interesting. A lot of twists, a lot of thrilling moments. Now with The Promised Neverland, a recent anime, 12 episodes, season 2 coming next year. Every episode has thrilling moments, has a twist, has some horror aspect to it that is very cool and interesting to watch. Promised Neverland, my favourite anime of last year / the start of this year. I really enjoyed it. Every episode was great. Manga readers say that the first arc, which was animated in the first 12 episodes, is the best. And others say that it gets better on, so it's a bit conflicted in that compartment. But the first 12 episodes were great. But Monster, rewatching these clips really opened my eyes to how godly the thriller moments were in Monster. With so many of the characters with this top tier. If you haven't seen Monster, I probably recommend it the most on this list out of every anime here, even with Death Note being my favourite. Just please watch Monster. If you like thrilling anime, if you like psychological anime, just check out Monster. And Monster's going on to the next round. In round 2, we have Steins Gate vs ReZero and Death Note vs Monster. Let's begin. So Steins Gate vs ReZero. Okay, at the start of Steins Gate versus the start of ReZero blows it out of the way. The first episode with ReZero was very good. I like how they made it a longer episode. I really enjoy when animes do that, make a 40 or hour long first episode to introduce the story, to see whether the audience will enjoy it or they won't. I really like how they did that. They introduced most concepts in the first episode that needed to be understood to want to continue, and then they introduced all of the thrilling aspects. It had that one moment where Subaru died from a character you thought was on his side, and that was very thrilling. And then it had the moment where the credits started rolling mid-episode. Sadly, I didn't watch as it was airing. If you watched ReZero as it was airing and saw those credits like on episode 7 or 6, when it was like 12 plus episodes, if you saw those like that scene with the credits at the end rolling, thinking it's all over, like, oh, is that it? Was that the end? You would have had a very thrilling experience. I even did myself, but then I'm like, wait, this is like 12 more episodes after that. Why is it credits rolling here? I did it more than once as well. It was pretty crazy. And up against Steins Gate, this after the first three episodes, it just gets intense, very intense. The main character Okabe is going through some very intense, thrilling stuff, with all his friends dying and having to go back a different timeline back in the past over and over again so many times, with all concluding near the end. It's top tier. Every episode after couple episodes at the start is thriller moment after thriller moment. It's very great, and Steins Gate is going on to the final. Monster vs Death Note. Okay, not gonna lie, Monster is top tier greatness. Every thrilling moment is this nerve-wracking greatness. You'd have no idea what's gonna happen, and when it happens, like, oh, it makes sense. You're wondering what a character like the main antagonist Johan's gonna do, just feeling very calm and saying some insane stuff. It's incredible how good it is. But I'm not gonna lie, at times it is not thrilling at all. It is boring and it's not hard to sit through. It's still a good watch, but at times it's not as good. There's no real filler moments, but there's some like parts where you don't really care. It's not really focused on the main character at all times. It has like moments at a time, 3 episodes at a time, where you don't even see the main character at all, really. And some of those weren't as good, but some were really good, and it's just mixed feelings about that. Up against Death Note, the first half of Death Note is my favorite thing in anime. Death Note as a whole is my favorite anime, but the first half especially is this top tier greatness. Every episode had thrilling moments, had twists, had psychological moments that made me want to watch the next episode. I watched it so many times. I'm probably gonna rewatch Monster in the near future because it's just really that good. I've rewatched Death Note like 4 or 5 times at this point, and I'll happily do it again. Death Note is greatest. I've got people to watch Death Note because of how good it is. I've got people that don't watch anime to start watching anime because got them into Death Note. I myself watched Death Note, got into anime more, and with that alone, with all its top tier thriller aspects, even at near the end where people say it wasn't as good, I still enjoyed it greatly, and the thriller moments then with Mello and Nia was as good as well. I enjoyed it just as much, had the thriller, had everything, and sadly to say, I don't think Monster's going to advance. Death Note advances. In the final, we have Steins Gate vs Death Note, the top anime of the thriller genre. So, with Steins Gate, with it coming up against Death Note, they're very top tier great anime, among the best anime of all time in my opinion. Death Note being my favourite, Steins Gate in my top 5 easily. I haven't seen Steins Gate Zero, still haven't seen it. I don't know why, I just haven't got around to do it. Currently watching something that's more important, known as, JoJo. And, the Steins Gate, it has its thrilling moments. It doesn't have it always, but when it does it very well. Death Note, I believe, would have more thriller-based moments that give it its genre. A lot more psychological moments, but just the thrilling moments for Death Note they weren't more thrilling, but they were more enjoyable to watch. Sometimes in Steins Gate, the thriller-based moments were okay to watch, but they weren't like, oh, okay, like full engagement, like, oh, okay, that happens. It doesn't matter because you'll just go back to a different timeline. But then you get piece to piece together, you understand all the characters, what they've done, and that's pretty thrilling when you see the other characters hanging around, acting normal with another character once you know something happened in a different timeline, a different past or future, and that's pretty thrilling. The soundtracks for both of them are pretty good. I have to say I prefer Death Note soundtracks, but some in Steins Gate are top tier and very thrilling. The idea that something like that could happen is more like extreme in Steins Gate, where the main character has to go through all this just to save some of his friends after the madness that he had to go through. Don't want to spoil it, like I said. And then with Death Note, the mind game battles, the twists and turns, the manipulation, everything is great, good fun to watch, very thriller related. And I'm gonna have to say Death Note is the winner of the best thriller anime. That is it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and down below let me know your favorite thriller anime. What anime you think is the best and deserves to be on this list next time. Recommend me some anime based on the thriller genre. Check out any other brackets or any other videos I've made. A video every day or every 2 days. And that's it, guys. Peace.